My name is Carmalita, and I'm an addict. And truly grateful to be here today in a place where I've been able once again to meet new friends. I want to take the time now because I usually kind of lose my thought. But I want to thank Cynthia and the convention committee for just asking me to be a part of what I believe is always a celebration. If addicts like myself and others can come together and we're not throwing knives and bullets and all that other good stuff. I also want to say thank you to the three ladies who met us at the airport. And that's something that's almost like a real special gift for somebody to just be there waiting for me, because before I got to Narcotics Anonymous, nobody was waiting for me anywhere. And there were two ladies who came with me who just wanted to come. And they took care of their own expenses and was willing to do for themselves, as we learn in this program, what's necessary. So I want to say to Lilia and to Wendy, thank God for people like you. Since I've been here, I've met some folks, and I've needed to kind of like sit with someone that was here before I got here. A lot of days in my area, that isn't always what's available. But there was someone here that God was certainly in charge and got this person here for me to talk to, because I really needed that. Thank you, Mona. And I don't know why, but all of a sudden, I want to cry. We do here at this podium what is necessary for ourselves. What I do here is really not for you. And I need to make that clear. So what I say is not an opinion of Narcotics Anonymous. It's the way that I review and view my recovery. When I was out on the strips, and I was in what they call in Washington the red light district, it had no, I didn't think anything like this was even possible. My search became one for death on the daily basis. Just let me die, and that'll just take care of everything. But I know today that there was a God of somebody's understanding, because I'm still here. I started at 19, and it was a real simple matter. It was like going to a joint in Waldorf, Maryland, and sitting around a table with a lot of other young people, and they put stuff on the table like Old Crow, Old Tail, and Old Fitzgerald. And all that stuff didn't feel old to me, because it made me feel brand new. And I had not done anything up until I was 19, because I had parents who said, you get your education, you be obedient, and you follow the directions we give you. And then through it all, one day they were not there. And I got to do what I wanted to do. My mother was the disciplinary in my family, and baby, when she left home, I was so happy. I was so glad my mama left. And I was just ready to just take off, and that's exactly what I did. A couple of years out there in this little town and drinking and having fun, I decided I'm not going back to college. I'm going to get me a job, and I'm going to continue to have fun. It was like I was desperate at the age of 19. So coming into drugs wasn't a big deal, because I had for so long wanted to get somewhere to be with the right kind of people and do what I thought was having fun. And after a couple of years of just drinking and kind of getting real silly and having a little cash in my pocket, my parents heard that I was doing something else. And my mom thought I was, hanging out with them little boys. But I was not interested in boys, had never been. I don't know why, except you didn't do that at that age. And they decided to bring me to Washington, D.C., and Lord knows I had no idea, but I went to the Government Employment Service to look for a job, and they sent me to this place called Ben's Chili Bowl. And it was right in the middle of the red light district. And I kind of thought that was a blessing from God, you know, because the place was real popular, and people were coming into this place all hours of the night. And I was able to kind of, you know, perk myself up and look real good and make all these tips. So in addition to my regular pay, I had a pocket full of money. And I knew then how to say the right things. I really did. May I help you? And I started helping folks a long time ago. And one day while I was working this place, this guy walked in, and I watched people even then, because he was something I had been looking for. And he walked in and made his usual order, which was nothing more than a cup of coffee. And he said something like, "Hi, baby." And I said, wow. For me, that was the answer to all my prayers. That guy that my mama had told me about, the right one. And he came in and he said it the right way. And he kind of made that his place of the day to come to. I had no idea he was coming by the chili bowl because he hadn't been to sleep the night before. And this was sort of like his little waker-upper to keep him going on his merry way. But we got involved, and in a matter of a few days, I was mainlining heroin. And it was as simple as that, folks. Sometimes we tend to kind of want to make using a big deal, but it truly is not. It's very simple. And I got involved, and I didn't think at that time about having problems, but there was one thing I knew even then, that I was doing something wrong. I knew it. In 7 days, I was strung out, and we thought that I was pregnant, because I was doing those things that happen to pregnant women. You know, you get cramps, and you have hot and cold chills, and then we kind of looked at each other, and we both knew that wasn't the case. And he said, "This will be your last time." Well, it wasn't. And you know about the last time. What happened to me is not that difficulty to understand, because 2 years of being on the street, and when I say on the street, I mean coming from work, going home, going to cop, whatever it is I had to do, I ended up being a street person even though I didn't want to be, because I had to hang out and do what everybody else had to do to get the stuff. And this guy and I was in the business at that time, and I'm going to tell you, in 2 years, it was almost a disaster, because I was on my way through these great parents who came and got me again to my first mental institution. And the idea was, you cannot disgrace us this way. My father worked for the CIA, and he could not have those folks looking up and finding somebody on the record that had a drug problem. So I was told that I had to go somewhere to get some help, and they said, "Well, we're going to send you down here to this place called KY. I said, "Mom and Dad, it just ain't that bad." Can you imagine that? Not being that bad. But I stayed in this place for about 9 months, and I became once again the obedient child that I knew how to be to get where I really wanted to go. And this guy one day walked in for treatment, and he said, "Hi, baby." And I was on my way again. And I want you to know that that cycle was to happen for many, many years. And it's not, I don't know why we tend to want to make this thing about using so complicated. It wasn't. I was like, you know, just sitting there waiting for this guy to show up, because not using was not my idea. That was somebody else's idea. And I needed an excuse. I sure did. And finding somebody as nice as this, you know, I got to do what they do in order to have them. So it went on like this for 15 years, folks. Just meeting the guy who said, hi, baby, assuming he was the right one. And I'm telling you, folks, everyone I met was using. See, I understand that today, even in recovery, you attract what you put out. Y'all know what I'm talking about. That's good. Very good. One of the things that did happen, you know, they call it existing, okay, in the town where I came from. So for like 15 or however many years, I had to exist. I always kept a job because I guess out of many things that my mother taught me, she said, girl, you're going to have to take care of yourself. And I thought she meant financially. So I kept a job. See, I didn't go out and rob and steal. I went to loan companies. And them folks gave me money on top of money. And I didn't go to one. I went to as many as I could go to. So that's how I kind of accumulated the funds that I needed to get the package and do the business. And one other thing that happened to me in the middle of all of this madness, okay, not just the men in my life, but I began to kind of stop at filling stations, if you can understand that, to get refueled. You know, I'd go in a hospital and stay for about 30 days on the psych unit and get pretty and get my little health back together and go right on back out. As soon as I got discharged, I'd go right down to where I was supposed to go, and somebody else would just say, hi, baby. You know, and I would take care of them, no problem, folks. I would put them in a place. You know, I'd bathe them, I'd feed them, I'd do whatever necessary. I used to love them young boys. I truly did. And they seemed to be obedient, so they did what I told them to do, you know? So I didn't have a whole lot of hassle on the street, you know? And then finally, I made it to the doctor's office. You know, after a little while, one of those psychiatrists want to kind of check you out and see really what your problem is. But what they did was they gave me a prescription. And I said, well, this is another route I can go. You know, so I got as much as I wanted, nothing about what I needed. I got what I wanted. So when things seemed to kind of like be going downhill, I'd run into the office and I was good. I mean, I had a story for them, you know, and I could really tell them how bad life really was treating me. They would not let me out. I had one doctor that when I came in, he would sit down with a cocktail in the office while him and I talked. You know, I think he was either making a thesis, I don't know what he was doing, but he entertained me while I shared about my pain. And then after a while, you know, you have to get into those places called the methadone clinics and do what's necessary. And one of those psychiatrists told me, said, I don't have what you need, but there's a place where you can go. And he was polite about it and showed me where I could go. And, of course, that was just another nasty game I liked to play. It never did hold me, so I needed more and more and more, you know. And I did some crazy things, see, while I was using. I set my mother's house on fire because I was nodding and dropped a cigarette. And the cigarette didn't catch on to the furniture until after I'd left the house. And then I come home that particular night, and everything's thrown out in the front yard because it's burnt up. And my mother used to say things to me like, I really don't understand you, child. I really don't understand you. And my mother tried the best she knew how to get me in a place where I could get some help. Well, what I had to do to really get some help is try the suicide route. And I would take all them pills the doctors would give me. I used to have bags of Seconal and Truanol. And I'd do that to just get out of the way. But every time that I tried to commit suicide, something occurred and somebody got me to the hospital. Sometimes we don't really look back at what really happened. But just as simple as knocking over the glass, you know, that I drank from, and somebody heard the glass and wondered why I didn't come to clean it up, because I was out of it. And they got me to the hospital. Well, finally I made it to this place in Washington called St. Elizabeth. And they tell you there, if you cannot take care of yourself, then we will keep you here forever and put you on that stuff called Thorazine. Now, even in my stupor, I kind of knew that wasn't what I wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? You know, I didn't like the food they brought you, you know. But I was a very good patient on psych units. You know, I helped the nurses to do their job, you know, and things like that, help them take care of the patients. But I really did not want to stay here. So it was like leaving that hospital one day, and I knew I was going to have to find some place to get me some help. But like a good addict, I had to have my last fling. Now let me tell you what happens. I got on the bus with my sister, and she was taking me someplace where normal people were. But the bus had to go through my strip. And when it got to my corner, I mean, just automatically, my body just said, I'll see you later. And I got off that bus, and right on the corner, where he was supposed to be, was the right guy with the right package. And he was feeling real gifted that night because he said I could have some of it. And I went with him and 4 other junkies just like myself. And guess what? No matter what I did that night, it didn't work. I used and I used, and it didn't work. And it was good dope because it was working for everybody else. I walked out of that place. The sun was shining bright. And for the first time in my life, I truly identified how I felt. And I felt like a piece of shit. And I knew that day, had I not seek treatment, there wasn't going to be no me. I went to my mother's house and I said, look, I'm going somewhere to get some help. She said, darling, go right ahead. Don't worry about nothing. A lot of people ask me, but I don't share about some things when I'm talking about my addiction because I don't even know how it occurred. But I had 2 children, I had a husband, and a whole lot of places to live. But in my addiction, I really don't recollect a whole lot of that. Okay? The children were out of wedlock. The husband stayed with me for about 2 months and went on about his business. But when I went to treatment, my mother said she'd take care of those 2 kids for me. And that was okay. We had not had a relationship, so I had no problem with leaving my kids. I hadn't kept them. And when I got to this place, it was a community, a therapeutic community. When they invited me in, I had a pocketbook full of dope. They took my pocketbook and told me to go sit in the corner in this chair. And they had a sign in the corner that said, don't blow this chance. And I had to sit in this corner for 8 hours. I wish every woman I sponsored, I could sit in a corner for 8 hours. Because that did a world of good for me. I did not leave this place even though they didn't address me the way I thought I should be addressed. Because they called a spade a spade. And when I got there, folk, I was ready to surrender. And they allowed me to come in this room for this interview, and they did not have to ask me anything. I fell to my knees and I begged these people, please help me. And they allowed me to come into this facility, and we had what is known as a rude awakening. It was not one of those places where they pat you on the back and sing lullabies to you and tell you what a great person you are. They told me I had become a deceiving woman, one who had lost her self-respect and dignity. They told me I had become what women become in the street. And that's a slut, a whore, and whatever else they could tag onto that. And I didn't leave that place because you know what? That was the truth. I was a dressed-up garbage can. A dressed-up garbage can. I used to put a lot of emphasis on what I wore. I always dressed in black. That hide, this overswelling part of my body. I was big ever since I came out. And I couldn't understand a whole lot about losing no weight. because that's how I really got a taste for addiction anyway, because I used to take them weight pills too. But these folks in this program gave me a chance, and they told me don't blow it. So I did what they said to do on a daily basis. And I was somebody who realized after I got in treatment how angry I really was. They had what is known as encounter groups, and they had people to learn how to express themselves. And the only thing that I wanted to do in this program is just to say what I'd always felt like saying. And that was that great word, MF. I got mad one day, and that's all that came out, besides the foam and the saliva, because I was so angry it was like a mad dog. But that was a way of releasing a lot of stuff that I didn't know what to do with. And I began at that time kind of seeing the light. Now, when I left this place at that time, they were not associated with the fellowship 12-step programs. They were not. They were about people not using heroin. And you could use that other stuff, but you couldn't use no heroin. But I thank God that the right things happened for me. And I managed to go back to my old job and was able to get a transfer to another government agency, which is where I am now. And I thank God for that, because it was a drug-free area. I used to work for the methadone clinics. That's the best place to work when you're using. And when I finally got to this job, there was a guy there who said, "Are you an alcoholic?" And I didn't answer him. He said, "Come on, go to this meeting with me." And I went. And yes, it was a meeting of the other fellowship. And that's all we had in Washington, D.C. But I went, and what happened for me there was a guy standing at the door who reached his hands out to me and said, "Good morning. How are you? Would you like a cup of coffee? And you can have a seat right over here." And for 1 hour, I knew I was safe. So I came back. Because when you come out of the kind of treatment program I did, you still did not fit anywhere except in that institution. So I went to that place, and I'd sit on my days off as soon as I got off. And finally I heard something one day. A guy said, "You need to go to that meeting over such and such a place." And I did what they told me to do. I went over there, and this woman was sharing, and they kind of called on me this after I'd been in the program about 6 months, and they said, "Would you like to share?" And I said, "Yes." And of course, you know what I talked about. I talked about mommy, daddy, the kids, the house, the job. And Lord, when that woman talked after me, she said, "Your mommy, your daddy, lottie-dottie, or none of them folks are sitting in this meeting. You are." She said, "You need to start talking about your damn self." I said, "That's my sponsor." I didn't have that problem that women are having today. We're being very, choosy, or some word they use in the district called selective. I don't know where we get this language from after we get here, but they're very selective about who they ask to be their sponsor. But there was something that happened in the pit of my gut when I heard that woman talk. And she sent chills all through my body. Scared me to death. And I knew that was the right one. And she said, "I'll be your friend." And she was just that from day one. And my sponsor did certain kinds of things with me. Okay? She called me every morning at 5 o'clock. And she'd say, "Good morning, sunshine." At 5 a goddamn clock in the morning. Man, I'm telling you. This woman was on the ball, and I just could not understand this. And then she'd call me at noontime at work and say things like, "Turn on that radio sitting right there next to you." And I don't know how she knew I had a radio there, but she said there's a service on such and such a station. And I'd turn it, and you know what it was? A 15-minute period of prayer. And it's from this minister down there on 9th and O in Washington. And he said the right prayer. And then she'd tell me around about 4:30, I'll meet you at the meeting. And folks, this was every day. You see, she did what she told me I was to do. Y'all hear me? What I was to do. Didn't nobody suggest nothing to me. They told me what to do. They didn't tell me to do no 90 and 90, because I'd have been booking by the time I got to the 90. They told me with what I had, this problem I had, I needed to be in a meeting every day. And I didn't need to count. And I'm glad they told me that, folks. I really am. Because they helped me to do what I quite didn't understand at that time. So we started certain kinds of things that we were doing on a regular basis. I would go to 2 or 3 meetings a day. And then her and I sit down one day with another guy and a parole officer. And we'd heard about Narcotics Anonymous. And we wanted that little white book that they had out there. So we were able to contact some people in California, and they sent us what is known as the starter kit. Today, folks don't even ask for a starter kit. They set up their own stuff. You know what I mean? But we got a starter kit. Now, we tried to change a few things, you know, but then there came a day when that was too painful, and we went back to doing it just the way we were told to do it. But I'm so glad that I was a part of that foundation, because I needed a meeting where I could go and talk about what I really was feeling and thinking. And what I wanted to do for my first 2 years in the program was to really knock somebody out. I was so mad. And it didn't make me no difference who it was. See, as a young child, I fought all the way through school. Now, if my weight ever did anything for me, it was that, because I could fight. And I never had no problem with none of the men that I was with, because I made that perfectly clear up front. And I always slept with a hammer beside my bed. See, I don't try to do it with my fist. And that's just the way I was. So when I came into this program, you know, in a lot of meetings, I was sitting there and I wanted to just say something, and it had nothing to do with the topic. You know, I was just mad. And I was mad because I was clean. I didn't come in here skinning and grinning and having all this goddamn chuck-a-luck good fucking fun. I really didn't. You know, I was in a lot of pain. And even though I had a job, I had a place to live, you know, wasn't nothing going right. I was lonely as all outdoors, and I really could not seem to get things in order. No matter what I did, it was always a kicker. And I said, my God, when is this going to get better? And you know what my sponsor used to always say? It's going to be all right. Yeah. It's going to be all right. And I said, Lord, I got me a nut here. She used to tell me things like, you know, if you're having a little problem at home, go to your door and tell Slewfoot to get out. She talked about stopping the car on the highway and telling Slewfoot to get out. I said, I can't do things like that. You know? You got to know who I am now. You know, but it came a day. It came a day when I got Slewfoot out of the house, got him out of whatever, you know, even to get him out of my thoughts. And she taught me what to do. See? And they told us what to do. They told us what meeting to go to. And my sponsor told me, if any of them guys approach you, just tell them who your sponsor is. I ain't had no problem. And I'm serious about this, y'all. I did not have any kind of a relationship for 2.5 years in this program, because all I had to do was check my track record. That's all you got to do, just look back a little bit and check it out. And I knew something wasn't right. When I finally did get involved, believe me, folk, I wished I hadn't. Now I'm going to share this with you. The first man that I did get in a relationship with, if you want to call it that, I was talking to him about somebody else. I said, this guy asked me to go out and I really don't know, you know, what I should do. And he said something very profound. He said, if there was any woman in this program that I would have, it would be you. And I went for it. And guess what? He was a married man. And one day I got a phone call from his wife at the club, and she wanted to know, why does my husband have to be everywhere you are? I said, you don't have to worry about that no more, honey, because I had to let it go. And while I'm in that pain, you know, this person, I'm riding in the car with him one day, and she said to me, there's somebody in the program I'm really attracted to. And I said, well, who is it? You know, you need to talk about it. She said, it's you. And there I go again. Only thing about this one, there was house, car, kids, and everything that got involved. And my sponsor had already told me it ain't going to work. And folk, it didn't work. And my sponsor told me the only way that she could help me was that I had to make a decision. She said, when you make the decision, then give me a call. See, I couldn't go to her and talk all this relationship shit. You know, I couldn't go to her and be crying and whining. Oh, no. She didn't allow it. And one day I made a decision, and yes, everything had to go. The partner, the house, everything. And it was a total disaster. But you know what? I didn't use. There was not a whole lot going on in my life in terms of character. It really wasn't. But I did not have to use. When we got involved in the steps, it was the beginning of the work that I needed to have been doing for a while. So I don't beat you up around here, you know, when you don't work the step your first year, you know, things like that. You know, but after a while, when you got information right here for you, I don't understand why you don't want to work the steps, because that's where your freedom is. That's where your joy is. That's where your betterness is. You know, and you don't have to be saying I'm sick 16 and a half years down the road, because I'm not sick. I have some bad days, and I do some thinking sometime that ain't even real. But I am not that sick asshole that came in here. And I know that today, because I got involved in the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous. And one thing that my partner said to me this morning when we were at that breakfast table, she talked about service. I don't know how you be around here and not be in service. You know, I learned how to wash ashtrays and how to make coffee and how to pick up them chairs and how to cook at every one of them anniversaries of people I didn't even know. My sponsor said, she'll take care of it. You don't have to worry about it. You know what I'm saying? They told me I didn't have to do no thinking. Because my thinking always got me in trouble. My best thinking got me in Narcotics Anonymous. So I did what them folk told me to do. You know, when it came to the first 3 steps, I knew I was powerless. I knew that. I knew that when I was 5 years old. But I couldn't understand this unmanageability because I had a job. And then them folks in the rooms kind of helped me to understand what unmanageability really was. You know, and that's still going on. When it comes to doing, you know, the money thing and stuff, I still don't know what to do with money. Okay? And I don't know that I ever will. But that's all right. I don't go sit in the corner and get into that self-pity shit. I got to live with what I do today. Okay? When it talked about insanity in the second step, I really didn't have no question. I had been in 15, 20 mental institutions. And a lot of us say, well, I'm not crazy. Well, why is it that the same thing that made you sick is the one thing you want early in the morning to make you feel better? And I understood that. I was going for it every morning and knew that that's what was making me sick every night. And turning my will and my life over to the care of God, folks, he had it in his hands anyway. And my sponsor for a long time was my God. The meetings was where I got godly care, because they didn't spare me none in them meetings. See, when we went to meetings, it was like maybe 10 people, and they would strip you right in the meeting, you know. And I didn't mind that. People say they don't like tough love. Well, I needed it. I needed it in every way that you could give it to me, because I was a hard-headed addict. You know, I didn't believe. And they helped me to be a believer in those rooms. When it got to the 4th step, and that's what I really liked. Excuse me. Just the way it reads in the literature, you get you a quiet space, you get you a pad and a pencil, call your sponsor, say your prayers, and goddamn it, get to work. See, everybody sitting there around. I don't want to do my inventory because I don't want to see myself. I may not like myself. Well, what the hell you think was going on at first? I didn't like me then. I didn't even know me then. So here is something to make it all better for me, folk. So I did it. And you know what I had to start with? I wrote in 3 areas: sex, anger, and resentment. And that covered everything. My first was on the sexual issues. When I got through writing down all them folk that I had been with, good God Almighty. Yes, it hurt. And they told me when it hurts real bad, call your sponsor. She said, okay for the night, say your prayers and go to bed, but don't forget to start tomorrow. See, I got simple stuff, and I was able to do what I had to do. And every time, it came out just the way it was supposed to. When I took my 5th step, I did not take it with my sponsor, because she said, I don't do this. Because if you tell me, I might tell somebody else. And she didn't mean that in a derogatory way. She really didn't. She is the kind of person who's open, and she shares it all in a meeting. She'll share hers, yours, mine, whoever else's. See? That's how come I understood what she said. If them guys approach you, just tell them who your sponsor is. Because she'd pull your coat right in the meeting. And when I went to this person who happened to be a male that I knew was working the 12 steps of this program, I'm glad that I went to him, because he gave me what I needed. And that was a face to look into and not feel less than. Because my inventory was a lot of pain. But you know what? What a lot of people may not understand is when you write it down, that's when you can see it. There was a quotation my sponsor had in her office, and it went like this: I hear and I forget. I see and I remember. I do and I understand. You need to see your shit. See, a lot of us can verbalize it, you know, and go on one ego trip in a meeting. You know what I'm saying? And you still don't really see it. But I realized what I had become of my own choosing, because I was unwilling to make a choice as a young woman. I didn't want to go back to school. I didn't want to do any hard work. You know, I didn't want to be, you know, like the individual that this program has allowed me to be. I didn't want none of that. Because, see, that would take some energy. That would take some work. But I was able to get through that. And some of us know 6 and 7 are 2 steps that we just kind of glide through. You know, we just, oh, I took my 5th step and I saw my character defects, and now I'm making my list. For a couple of years in this program, 6 and 7 was exactly what I was doing. I had to get in touch with my character defects. And I am one who have been most willing, not just entirely ready. God, you can have them, because I know they've only caused me pain. You know, a lot of folks don't want to get rid of that lust, but it'll kill you. See, your lust will get you what they call AIDS. and you'll die, maybe before you're able to make amends. So I got busy with my 6 and 7 step. And yeah, I was a little touchy, you know. A lot of times people had something to say and I didn't like it, and I'd get that ugly face or whatever. But I knew I could get on my knees. I knew I could call my sponsor. I knew I could ask for forgiveness. And I didn't have to worry about whether I was going to get it or not, because I truly began to believe what I had learned in this program. Yes, when it came to making that list, no problem. I knew the people that I had harmed. But you know what I did? I left off somebody who I never thought was important, and that was me. And when I got to a meeting and sharing that 8th step, the fact that I was doing it and I was able to put these people on this list, somebody told me in the meeting, what about yourself? See, people knew by this time that I had a problem with my self-esteem. I used to hear people in meetings or even at the podium saying, I love myself. I'm saying, what? How in the world do you get to love this dope fiend? I didn't know how to do that. See, for years in here, I was doing what I was told, but I honestly believed that I had not done enough. Considering some of the pain that I carried others through and the disgrace that I created for my family and the isolation that I had put myself in. For a long time, I really did not know that it was okay to make amends to myself. I needed that time in this program. My sponsor told me for the 9th step, please don't set up a schedule to make amends. That's going to be a disaster. That your God will select the time and the person. I did not go out, for instance, and find that wife and say, darling, I'd like to make amends because I went to bed with your husband. My sponsor said, sweetheart, do you want to live any longer? There were people, as the speaker last night talked about, there's death in a lot of our lives, and those people have gone on, but there is a way to make amends. And I've not only gone to grave sites for myself, I've taken other people. I've taken time just sitting there and sharing, and I know God is transmitting the message. So it's been okay. The 2 main people that I needed to make amends to were my 2 children. I could not be a mother, but I damn sight could be a friend. See, I didn't come here thinking, well, now I'm clean, I can be their mother. Don't do that to yourself, ladies. My kids were already teenagers, and they had suffered. Not physical stuff, but emotional pain. And it's been over a number of years that I've been in the business of trying to make amends to my children. The best way that I've really made amends has really been letting go and letting God. Being a power of example. No matter what they had to share, I was willing to listen. And they knew what I had done. And they had some things they needed to say. One is in the program now, Narcotics Anonymous. And that little kid has had a rough time trying to get straight. And when she got here, she said how resentful she was of me and a whole lot of other shit. But they just told me to hold on and be here when she get here. And that's what I had to do. And I would go to meetings and I'd share my pain, but it was okay, folks, because I was in a room full of people who cared about me. And now she is in the rooms, and I pray God that she find what I did. My mother was the other person that was like essential in my life, and God set that up. I went home 7 years later after I got clean, and she was in that house by herself, and yes, death was coming her way, but I was able to sit down in that room with her that day and say, look, B, And I think I frightened her because I'd never called her by her first name because she wouldn't listen to me. But I was able to share that day. And you know what she told me? She said, I was the one pregnancy that she wanted. And God just set me free. It was okay then. You see, this thing about making amends, a lot of people think it's buying shit. Folk, y'all forget that. Because I bought it all. Christmas came, Easter came, I was carrying bags and barrels of stuff over there. Didn't mean nothing. See, it ain't going to jail, folks. A lot of us think, I'll do my time and everything will be all right. I believe amends are only emotionally and mentally. They're the ones that God has instituted. And you're going to pay it. I don't care who you are. You can pay it now, pay it later. See, hell ain't when you leave here. It's right here. I don't know why folks keep talking about, I'm going to get myself ready for when I die. You better get yourself ready today because you might not have tomorrow. And we learn that when we come in the program. Yesterday is gone, tomorrow ain't promised. So the only one you got is today. Why are you wasting it? You got up this morning clean. The day is brand new. Why waste it? That's what I learned in the program. Those latter 3 steps are 3 that have kept me in this program. I wasn't afraid to do the work. Some days I got a little scary, but I did it anyway. And they told me I had to do that inventory on a regular basis. I have to get on my knees at night and say, God, forgive me. Not that I've physically bothered somebody or intentionally done something, but my thinking, boy, woo! Some of them women I sponsor, woo! I want to get a paddle, and just kind of, So I have to ask for forgiveness and ask God to bless them as He's done me. I don't want no more for myself than you can have. You see? And that's what I do, and it ain't nothing wrong with somebody else being right. That's where addicts have their biggest problem. You can be right. You can be dead right. I ain't got no problem with that. And I'm not going to sit there and argue and carry on like that. You can be right. You have a right to be right. And that's one thing I learned. So when I'm wrong in this program, hey, they gave me a way to get back on track. So I have to apologize. I have to make those amends. And I ain't trying to add no more onto my story either. That's important to me. It's getting long, and I get out of breath after a while up here. The 11th step was a real blessing in my life. I had the right kind of sponsor. I went through the right treatment because the combination of the 3 places I've been has allowed me to utilize this program in terms of meditating. See, I know how to sit still. I watched people in here last night. I watch people when I go to meetings because they can't keep still. They are moving and going to get coffee and walking and talking. Child, I can sit still. You don't get your message unless you sit still. See, God be giving us everything we need. Don't overlook your gut instinct, because that's always going to be right. See, God made this body. I didn't. And I learned how to sit still. And I try to help others. That's why I can get on a plane, frightened to death, and sit still. And as soon as them wheels hit the earth, I'm saying, thank you. You know what I'm saying? When they talked about helping somebody in this program, carrying the message, folk, we need to let people know that they can recover. And they need to see it. You can do all the talking you want to do at the podium, in the meeting, on the radio, the TV, but if you are not walking like you're talking, we're not doing what the program is talking about. You see, I can get out of the way because my opinion is not what makes anything works. See? When we carry the message, some folk may not be as fortunate as others, and they may not get to conventions. They may not get in an area that has 100 or more meetings. So when they do see you, let them see the program working. You know? When we go to meetings a lot of times and say this, and it's not personal, but I mean the women wondering why they're attracting so much. You know, well, God damn, you know. People didn't come in here and lose their eyesight. You know? You got to take better care of yourself. Other people can't take care of you. And my sponsor told me, and I got here, she said, let me make this perfectly clear. You're not a hot tomato, baby. And that took all of that, you know, ego right on out of it. Because, you know, we do come in here thinking, you know, that we got it. We're the one. You're right, we're the one that's in trouble. You know? So I kind of like dealt with that. And then, you know, it's like maturing in this program. I'm a 53-year-old woman. Will be on Tuesday, 54. What can you see me now there doing whatever that stuff is? I could go to a disco and I could last 2 minutes now. Now I go sometime maybe to hear the music, you know, or just fellowship. But I ain't got that no more. And I don't want to attract that. I don't move that fast no more. You know what I mean? So I have to stay within my limits. And I want other people, you know, to see my little light at the end of that tunnel. Because, folk, I'm here to tell you, it's some joy on this side. Y'all just don't know what this program has done for me. See, after you get busy with the steps and you incorporate them in your life, then you got a chance to live. And I've been living. Y'all hear me? I've been living. I've been in hotel rooms where they fold your bed back and put little mints there and leave you little notes sometimes. Damn, if I had that when I come in here. You know, I hadn't been nowhere. My radius was like 8 blocks. I've been from one East Coast to the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? And it's all due to the fellowship. My mother and father died since I've been in this program. 5 years apart, and after each parent died, a grandchild was born. 5 years apart, and they're two of the happiest kids. And you know what? I might not be mom, but I'm the best grandmother you'll ever meet. You see, when it comes to the joys of this program, see, sometimes we need to really sit down and gather what has really transpired. You know, they allowed me to find a balance in this program. See, yeah, Mom was gone, Dad was gone, but Angelo and DeAndre and that little boy gets up in the morning, and I'm the first one he sees. And he'll come in that bedroom and say, "Hi, Grandma." He called me Gramps when he really feeling good, you know? And I like that. You know, he knows that he has to share his love because he wanted to get his mother a Christmas present. And he wanted to get Grandma a Christmas present. You know, the kind of things that people have taught me in this program. It ain't about how much it costs. It's about what it means. See what I'm saying? And me and this little fellow, we have our days. Some days he just don't want to be DeAndre. And you know what I do? Patiently sit there and wait. I don't take to him with my hand strap, or nothing else. I allow him the ability to get it out. And then I put my arms around him and let him know we got to have a little talk here now. We're going to set some perimeters here now. And that child is smart enough to know what I'm talking about. You see, there are many things I've been fortunate enough to see in this program. God let me sponsor some of these women in here. And they're the ones that really kept me from doing a whole lot of stuff that I thought about doing. Because, see, they'd come back and tell me what happened. And I said, well, God, thank you. Thank you. See, so when we think about sponsorship, it's been more of a benefit for me than it has been maybe for a lot of them. You know, I've been able to meet people that have become my friend all over the world. When I first went to a world convention down in Miami, Florida, I didn't know nobody. And I got a phone call in the hospitality room, and this guy said, Carmalita, will you share at our opening night? And I almost had a heart attack. I said, what? But I had somebody who had gone with me, who has always been my friend, and he had told him. And that night when I got up there to share, I couldn't even talk. I was so petrified. Because guess what was happening in Miami? They was having one of them thunderstorms. I'm scared to death of them thunderstorms. And it was white lightning. I'd never seen white lightning. But some people live in Florida. I don't know how you do it. Because I'd be traveling back and forth every year. But when I got up, somebody said, just keep it simple. And the guy before me had spoke. And he talked about having 4 garages and 5 cars. So that was perfect for me because I got up there and told him, honey, if you don't need that 5th car, I'll take it back to Washington. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about here? I have learned how to fit in. See, I don't worry about what I ain't got. I look at what you have and find out how to get it. I don't have to be jealous of these women in this program because they done taught me a lot. They taught me how to go to the beauty salon. They've taught me how to get my fingers pedicured or whatever, Not in your feet. Yeah, whatever it is. So I don't worry about that. I broke my bottom plate and I said, Lord, these people call me to come to all these places. Hey, vanity is not going to make me happy. So I said, well, I'm going down here and try not to smile too much, but I'm going anyway. Because what I come here for, my purpose here, is to have a better life, to be a better person, and to be as that God has always wanted me to be. He truly didn't make no jump, I found God in these rooms, see. I didn't find him in church, and I was raised in the Episcopal faith. But I saw a whole lot of folks doing the opposite of what was shared in church. So for a lot of years, I didn't work with God at all. But when I came to Narcotics Anonymous, I found a loving, gifted God. And he knew how to put together a bunch of egotistical maniacs with a inferiority complex, all of us in one room. Do you hear me? And it'll be okay. Now, he's powerful. Do you hear me? If he... when I hear people's stories and then talk to them individually, God is powerful. Do you hear me? And see, that was simple enough for me to comprehend. See, when it comes to the these and the thous, I'd get a little mixed up sometimes. But I see what he's done. And my sponsor always told me, if you can't see the goodness of the Lord amongst the land of living, I too need a little bit more help. He has been good to me, folks. I'm not into a lot of things, but what I am into is living, and I enjoy myself. Sometimes I go bowling and I used to dance. I used to do all that good stuff. I love to go on retreats, you know. I'm busy. In fact, I don't have enough time in a day, you know. And I've been the best bag lady in this program. The best. So you can't tell me what you can't do in here. You know, there was times when I did not have a place to lay my head, you know, due to certain situations that I was responsible for. You understand what I'm saying? Because that same guy came back in my life one day, and I rented an apartment from him, and he thought that things would be the same. And I had to kick his ass out, and he called me back and said, move out. I said, no problem, darling, I'm gone. And in 6 hours, I called 2 people in this program, and they were there with 2 little trucks. My furniture was moved to the storage place, and I was moved to their sofa in the living room. You can't tell me what you can't do in this program. You know, I had a little old car, you know, and brand new. And in Washington, crime is the name of the game. And my little car got broken up because the cops was chasing somebody. And you know what? I felt bad for a little while, but then I called my sponsor. She said, honey, thank God you wasn't in it. I said, go away from here. You know, you get put back where you really need to be when you're stretched out there. See, a lot of us get caught up in these feelings, and we trying to act them out. We either spinning, fucking, sucking, or whatever it is we want to do. But I'm here to tell you, the program ain't about that. You're going to have to sit still and hurt. And know that he's there for you. And that's what's happening with me. I know he's there for me. These ladies that came with me, I didn't have to get on that plane by myself. Great. You see what I'm saying? And even if I had to, I just tell him, now, them 2 guys up there that are the pilots, now, you got to help them out. You know, and I will share the truth. I'm not going to come in here and tell you every day I'm all right. But I tell you what, I'm better than I ever was. So it's all about truth and honesty, folks. If you tell it like it is, then you'll get what you need. But if you come in here perpetrating, that kind of information you get is going to kill you. I just want to say, you know, just thank all of you. Thank all of you. And I'm just going to leave you with my little song because it means a lot to me, you know. And I know when he's touching me, I have to do what I have to do. Because of you, there's a song in my heart. Because of you, my life has had its start. Because of you, the sun will shine. The moon and stars will say you're mine forever and ever to part. I only live for the strength and hope you give. It's heavenly to know you're so near. Because of you, my life is now worthwhile, and I can smile because of you. Thank you.